Welcome GRD 121 W1 to our path practice exercises. We're going to do a couple exercises where we work with the pen tool, not only making straight line segments and editing them afterwards, but actually making curves as we go. That'll make it a lot faster. And the easiest way to do this is to do some exercises. I have some set up here that I've had for years that I think will really help us get familiar with the pen tool and being able to do that. And I put it as Unit 7, even though these won't take long. I could have put them in Unit 6 because we don't have a lot going on in Unit 6 right now, but I thought we'd start the week fresh and the unit fresh with these. We'll have some other exercises as well because these will go fast. So let's get started with the first one, which is 8A, and it's called Shapes, and it's pen tool or path practice. And just click on the link here. This is a link that I'm sharing with you. And one thing I just wanted to point out, if you're not logged into your Gravit account, it'll ask you to log in. Now, if you are logged in, you're going to be already in your account and you could just save the file in there, and that's what I want you to do. But if not, and I'll close out of this thing, if you get something like this and it says the design was shared by Richard Homa, that means you're not logged in and then you just have to log in. But be careful because it's kind of confusing. If you go here to save to cloud and you go in here, it brings you the create account, and I started logging in thinking I was logging in. So you got to go back to login. I just wanted to point that out. And I'll log in here into my other account that's not my instructor account, just so I'm like a student. So I'll log in now, and it's asking me to save this because I already went to save as, and I'm just going to put my last name here, and I'll just put Homa R. I don't think I have one called that yet, so I'll just call it Homa R, and you could put your last name first initial. If you do it differently, it doesn't matter that much. And again, there's no save button, so just hit enter when you're in this area, and then it'll be your file. And wait till it syncs before you start to do anything. And what I have here is a couple path things. There's actually two pages. There's one called closed paths, there's one called open paths. And the idea of these is just to practice drawing different kinds of paths with your pen tool. Now, these are little templates that you're going to trace over. So when you get started, you're going to make sure you set up your pen tool to use a certain color and not have a fill when you do that. So we're going to use our pen tool, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. So I just work on my first shape, my circle. And you might think, well, why am I going to trace over a circle? Well, it's practice. That's what this is. Obviously, you could use a circle tool, but this is practice. So I'm going to use my pen tool. Now, before you start, make sure that you have no fill. Just go here and hit the trash can so you have no fill. And I'm going to make sure that I have a color that's kind of different that's here. Instead of using black, just go here, pick any kind of color, red. If you want to use green, I guess something a little on the darker side. I'll just use this bright color here. Anything like that. I'll make it a little bit darker, and I'll start with that, and I'll just click off of here. So I'm going to be drawing with the pen tool, and I'm going to make curves as we go, so we're not just clicking. And a couple things let me point out. When you make a closed path, even not on these things right now, but remember, before we just kind of click, 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 and when you make a closed path, you click on the starting point, and that's how you make a closed path, and it's done. And I'll hit delete, delete to get rid of that thing I just made. But if you ever make an open path, you go here and you make a path and you make an open path and you're done. And you're like, well, how do I stop? What you can do is just double click on the last point. Just double click right there, and that'll kind of end it. I know it seems like a little thing, but I know that can be a problem. And then I'll just hit delete again to get rid of that path. So sometimes you hit delete and delete, delete to get rid of an open path. I know that can be confusing sometimes because it seems like it wants to keep going and you want to stop. So always just double click when you're done. All right, so I'm going to move over and work on this circle here. And all that I'm going to do is just click and drag up. I'm using my pen tool, click and drag up so you get handles coming out. And you can see they're coming out at the same length, almost like mirrored. And I'll just click and drag up. Not a lot, because this path, I don't want to go up like this because it's just a short little path. Remember, these things control one half of the path. So I'm going to go over here, and you can even see what it's doing. And then I'm going to go here. Instead of clicking, if I would click, it would just make a point there, and it would be like almost like a teardrop shape. But I just want to click and drag. So click and drag, and just kind of pull out the handle. And notice the back handle is kind of controlling the first curve. So I'm looking backwards here, and now I'm going to go forwards. So you got to kind of look back and go forward. So now I'm going forwards, but I'm going to look back. So I'm looking back at that second curve, and I'm also kind of going forward. And you can see my handles aren't very long, so they don't need to be really long handles. And then I leave go, and then I go over here, and it does kind of preview the curve for you, which is nice. And it's also showing me it's lining up with that point. And then I'm just going to click and drag and just make a short handle, and I'm making these all as similar as possible. And then I'll leave go. And then when I come here, now this is kind of confusing. You think, well, do I click or do I click and drag? And if I click, it'll make it just the way it appears. So you are going to click and drag right on the point. Just click and drag, and it'll almost recreate it again. It'll almost recreate the top part. So it might even mess up a little bit of that first one that you made, but that's okay. I mean, we're not going to be drawing a lot of circles. This is just practice. So that's it, and that's all you have to do. And that's your first one. You could just click on that to see the point again. Now, this could be a little bit thicker if you want. I have it 1 point. You could make that maybe 2 and make it a little bit easier to see because it's very thin and these gray things are kind of a lot thicker, but that's all you need unless you want to make it red or something like that. Like I said, whatever you want to do. You make it green, that's fine, whatever you want to do. So that's my path. You don't even have to spend a lot of time going back and tweaking it unless you really messed it up. But if you really messed it up, go back and try it again. And again, how hard is that? Not hard. Remember, click and drag just a little bit, straight up and down, leave go, click and drag, and now you can see about how long the handles will be. Then I'll go here, click and drag. Now I went out a little far, and then I'll go here and click and drag. And then on the last one, I'll click and drag, and you see it redoes the first point, but that's okay. And then if you need to tweak them, you can go here to the sub-select tool and move them into place. If you want to make them perfect, move this one up there. That's okay. If you find some of the handles aren't perfect, now they should all be curve handles, so they should all work like seesaws, but I don't expect everything to be perfect on this. So that's all you need there. And I'll go back and I'll make this green again, if I want to make that path green. And that looks okay. So that's my circle. That's the first part. Now, once you get the hang of this, these will go really quick. So I'm going to move over to my little hot dog shape here, my round cornered rectangle, and I'll take my pen tool. Now, you could go here, and just call this circle. I mean, it might just help. It may not be necessary. There's only 4 paths on this page, but I mean, if you want to do that, just to keep track of things. Now, I'm going to start here, and again, I'm going to go back to my pen tool, and you could start anywhere you want. You could click here. Now, this is a straight line, so you're only going to click. You're not going to make a curve here. And then I'm going to go here. I'll just show this for a second. Let's say originally you made it like this. You could make this like this. And then you could go back and click on this point and make it like mirrored and do that and tweak it. You could do that. That's one way to do it. And then you could kind of move them around. But I'm going to hit delete, delete, get rid of the whole path. Now we're going to do it in one shot with the pen tool. So I'm going to click here, and then I'm going to click, and then here I'm going to click and drag. So I'm going to make a little arc straight up and down, and then here I don't have to drag because it's already making the arc from the first handle. So I just have to click, and then here I just have to click because it's a straight line, and then here, what do you think I have to do? I have to click and drag, and then here you can even see I don't have to do anything but just click, and that's it. And that finished it off. So that's my closed path, and I don't have to do anything there. That looks pretty good. So I'm going to move on to this little baseball field looking thing here, or this little quarter circle, and I'll start down here. And remember, straight line segment, you just click. Here, I'm just going to make an arc. That's kind of on a 45-degree angle. And then down here, you could see what's happening. So you don't have to do anything but click. Click, and then go here, and right on the point, and click, and you're done with that one. And now this one's a little tricky, and there's different ways to do this one. One of the ways you could do this is you could start here. I'll start on a straight point, and I'll make a straight point, and I'll go here, and I'll make a little curve. And then I'll go here, and just click, and then I'll click, and I'll go here, and I'll make a little curve, and then I'll click, because it's already curved, and then I'll make a straight line, and then I'll go here and make a curve. If you go the wrong way, just flip around and go this way. And again, just a little curve, and then I'll go right on that point. Now, this way, I'd have to go back and take my sub-select tool and kind of move this thing back into shape. I'd have to go back and do that. And maybe even shorten the handles. If I made the handles too long, I might have to go back and shorten the handles. So that's one way to do it, but what it does is it makes these pivot points here. So you have a pivot point here and then a curve point here, rather than trying to curve it with just one point. So that's okay doing it like that. Now that's one way to do it, and I'm going to try it a different way. So I'm just going to delete the whole thing, And what I'll do this time is I'll go here, and I'll skip that extra one. And I'll just drag down. And because this has a handle coming out, I'm going to click right on that and get rid of the forward handle. And that'll help us with other exercises that we do. So if you click back on the point as you're working, it gets rid of the forward handle. And then I'm going to go here and I'm going to click because it's a straight line. And then I'm going to go here. And if I click here, it'll make a straight line. So I'm going to click and drag and pull out one handle. So this one's using one handle for the curve. That's actually what it's doing. So it's using one handle and it's making the back end curve. Now I don't need a handle here. So I'm going to just click on the point. And now I don't have a handle. I'm just going to finish the straight line. And then I'm going to skip over that extra point. And now here you can see I need a handle. So I'm going to click and drag. I'm going to click and drag and kind of just go down that way and follow it. And that's all I have to do. We could go back and pull that handle in if we want to. But that's one way to do it. So that's kind of the round cornered triangle. So let me just try it one more time. Click, click, jump over here. Pull a handle out, and you're doing that with one handle. Click to get rid of the forward handle. Click, go over here, pull a handle, and you're pulling out a back handle. And then I'll click to get rid of the forward handle because I don't need this one because it's a straight line. And I'll do that, and then I'll click, and then I'll just go over here and just click and drag. And that's all I should need to do. Now it's not perfect. Well, it doesn't look too bad. And I'll just leave go. And that's it. That's the first page. Hopefully that wasn't too hard. And I go here and just kind of click on this. If you need to tweak anything, you could go back and tweak this. But I'm just going to move on to my second page. And I think I'm going to hide this right now, actually, because this is a little bit in the way. I'll keep my paths out here. And I think I'll just go to View, and I'll hide my inspector. I don't really need that over there. So I'll get some room here. And what we're going to do is we're going to just kind of make curves as we go. Now we have scallops and we have this one that has an arc. I think I'm actually going to start with this. I think I'm going to start with the bottom one. And what you could do is just click and then go over here. You don't have to click up. I'm just going to go here and then I'm going to click over and kind of make that arc and then go down. And you can see here I could just click. And then over here, it's a straight line. I can just click. And then I could go here and just make an arc by pulling out my handles, dragging. And then I'll go here and I'll just click. Now, if you're like, wait a minute, this won't stop. Just go here and double click. And that'll end it. So that's that one. That wasn't too hard. And again, I'll delete the whole thing. This is what I did. Click, click and drag. Click, click, click and drag, click, double click, and then I'm done. And then I'll move up to this one. Now, this is a scallop one, and again, these red things are where you're supposed to put anchor points. So you could go here, click. Now, what would you do next? Well, I'm actually going to click up. I'm going to go in the direction of the curve. The curve is going up like I'm going up a sliding board. So I'm going to go and I'm going to click and drag up and make that backward handle come down. And then I'm going to click and get rid of the forward handle. And then I'm going to go over here and do what I did when I get an arch. I'm just going to click and drag. And then I'm going to go up here, and you can see what's already happening. It's already going up there, so all I have to do is click. And then I'll go down, and you can see when you have this like kind of belly thing, you just kind of click and drag. Just click and drag to get that semicircle and make it as straight as you can. And then when I go up here, it's already finished. So I'm just going to click. And then down here, I have to click and drag. And there's going to be a backward handle that comes out to kind of make it lay in this little sliding board area. So I'm just going to drag like that. And then I'll click on here. That should get rid of the forward handle. And that's it. Well, actually, it's not it because I still have this thing here. So what do you do when you have that thing that won't go away? Double click. And now we're good. Now I'll do that last one again. I'm going to click and go up here and click and drag. So the backward handle follows that path, follows that little ocean wave. And then I don't want this handle up here because it's going to make the next, look what it's doing. If I go here, that's what that forward handle is doing. It's making the path go up. I don't want it, so I'm just going to click to get rid of it. Click right on it. That'll get rid of the forward handle and only leave a backward handle. And then I'm going to go here and click and drag across so it makes that little belly And then I just have to click here because I could see the preview of the path is laying right on the path. So just click there. And then again, here's another belly coming down. So I'm just going to click and drag. And if it's not perfect, that's okay. You can go back and edit it. We just don't want to have to make a lot of extra anchor points. And now this one's already going up there. So I'm going to click. And then this one is going straight. So I have to click and drag to make the backward handle follow this thing here. So I'm just going to click and drag. And I'm just going to double click here in one shot, and that'll end that one. So that's it. That's all you have to do for 8A shapes is just practice that. You could do these multiple times until you get them right. It's about practicing. It's not about turning it in. It's about feeling comfortable doing these. So we had these here with the closed shapes, and then we have some open shapes here. And once you get familiar doing this, it's going to be very easy to trace shapes. Obviously, these aren't the kind of shapes we're going to want to trace. We're going to want to trace all kinds of animals and logos and all kinds of things. But this will help us work towards that because we'll encounter all these kind of curves and change of direction shapes when we work on other kind of things. So that's 8A. So when you're done with this, make sure that you save and make sure that it syncs. And then just share it and just copy your link and go back to My Warren and go into coursework. And look for Unit 7, and look for Exercise A. Now remember, this is the link I shared, so you just want to go in here and click on the assignment then, and just add a comment. Ignore that down there, and just add a comment, just like you normally do. Click on the link, paste your link, and target new window. Hit OK, hit save, and that's all you have to do. That's the one you're sharing that you just worked on. Okay, so that's 8A, pen tool practice, shapes.